Hey guys, Braden here, and welcome to a different sort of video. Over the years, I've gotten many comments and questions asking, how do I record? What do I use to record? Hardware, software, how do you get into it? And I know a lot of people out there sort of watch videos and you think, I want to make some of my own, but I don't really know how. And it is sort of a lot to wrap your head around when you first get into it, but once you know your stuff, it's very, very easy. So what I'm going to do today is show you how I make videos, give you a couple of tips and tricks that work for me, show you the software I use, that sort of thing, and hopefully you'll get some sort of an idea of what goes into making a video and setting all the stuff up, and then perhaps that will be enough to give you some inspiration to go and do it for yourself, because it is good fun, even if nobody watches your videos. I remember I had probably more fun, and I was more excited when people... Well, 5 people were watching my videos. That blew my mind, and that's pretty cool. It's a good thing. You meet a lot of cool people. You get to play some cool games and get some comments and feedback and all that sort of stuff. It's great fun. It's rewarding, and I encourage people to get into it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the recording, the setting up, the software, the hardware, the editing, thumbnails, and rendering settings, and all that sort of stuff, and a couple little things that I do that make recording and editing just a little bit easier. So stay tuned if you want to know this stuff. It should be good. I'll keep it short and sweetish, but try not to leave out too much information. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Alright, this is my desktop. This is where everything starts. This is where all my programs are and things. I have 2 monitors, so I can throw my mouse off screen and do shit on my second monitor if I want, but I'll keep it all on the first monitor because I can only record one at a time. So what do I use for recording? Well, the first part is actually recording your game, and for that, I use Fraps. Now, Fraps is good and bad. There's some upsides, there's some downsides. It's very simple, and it records in a pretty bloody good quality, I've got to say. It's essentially what you see on your screen is exactly what it captures. It's great quality. It's not too taxing on your system. It is a little bit taxing, but it's not as bad as something like DxTory. I mean, it's much of a muchness really, but it's not quite as bad. The downside of all that is that it gives you some gigantic file sizes. For instance, if I record for an hour, well actually let's just go and see. If I go into my D drive and my raw footage, this video here is 257 gigabytes. So that's an hour recording of Banish, which I'll cut down to about 45-50 minutes in editing, and that's 250 gigabytes. So it's quite sizable. That is the downside of it, but ease of use and quality makes up for it. So basically what I do is I have a hotkey set. I have Control-Shift-R, basically something that you're not accidentally going to hit, and that won't be bound to anything else. So that's my Control-Shift-R for record, and then it'll start recording, or stop recording if I already am. You can set your folders that it saves to. A lot of the time I record to an external drive. My external drive is not plugged in right now, so I'm just recording to my D drive, which is a 3 terabyte Toshiba mechanical hard drive, I believe. Or is it a WD Blue? No, I think it's a Toshiba drive. Anyway, yeah, that's what I record to at the moment. So something with a shitload of space. It's got about 2.5 terabytes free, so if I record like a 200, 300 gigabyte file, it's not an issue. It's not going to go deleting shit or stop recording when you don't notice. I record at 60 FPS because... I mean, I only record at 30 FPS, but it makes editing a little more simple sometimes. And one thing with Fraps that's caught me out many times, more times than I can count, is when you switch... Not so much when you switch, but if you have your recording location set to, say... If I had it set to my external drive, and I started recording, but my external drive wasn't plugged in, it would default to... I think the C drive, which isn't great, but you can change that back. What it will do, however, is change to the split movie every 4 gigabytes. So every 4 gigabytes it records, it splits the file and starts a new one, which is basically every 50 seconds or so. So if you record for an hour, you're going to end up with a considerable number of files, which is a massive pain in the ass, so make sure that is never ever ticked. It's the devil. After you've got your benchmark settings and stuff, but basically all you want is your recording. So that's what I use for video. It's good. It does cost money. You've got to buy it. It's not that expensive. I think it's 40, 50 bucks, something like that, so it's not super expensive. Alternatively, you can use OBS. I can't show you OBS right now because that's what I'm using to record my screen, but there's a shite load of different tutorials and things online if you want to use OBS. Basically, you just go into your settings, you change your record settings to like 8 megabits per second or whatever, or 8,000 kilobits per second and 1080p, and then you'll be sweet. Now, audio. I use Audacity. Audacity's very good. It's sometimes a pain in the ass, but that's pretty much the way with most software of any sort. I use it to record my voice. I plug my microphone into it, and then I hit record. I can't do that right now because on my other screen I'm recording the voice that you're hearing. But basically, you plug in your microphone up here, you set the microphone you want, you set it to stereo, you can monitor it through your headphones if you want, and then essentially you hit record. When you're done, you hit stop, and then you go up to file, and then you export it. Now, what I like to do is I like to go into my bass settings. I'll go and change the bass and treble so I get a bit more bass in there. Then you change the treble as well to make sure that it's not overbearing. And then after that, I'll go down and I'll normalize the audio track so that it's not super loud in places and then super quiet in others. That's important if you're making film, depending on your deliverable. So if you're making stuff, for instance, for television, this is way in the future, but this is sort of stuff I'm studying. So if I was making a video or an advertisement or whatever that would be going on television or whatever, if the audio wasn't normalized and it didn't meet their requirements, they wouldn't air it, which isn't necessary on YouTube, but I kind of like to keep the quality up wherever I go. And then once that's done, I'll just go and I will export it, and I will export it to my audio folder over here, which will be basically here, and they all get stored there for when I need them. I can delete most of these because they've all been rendered, but I just like to keep them for a few weeks until such a time that I know I'm definitely not going to need them, and then they can all go away. So that's basically audio. It's pretty simple. What do I use for my audio, by the way? I use a Rode NT USB, which is a pretty decent mic, I've got to say. I've got it on a genuine Rode boom arm, which, what's it called? God, I used to know all this stuff so well, but I don't know anymore. Anyway, I'll leave links to the gear that I use in the description and downloads and stuff for the software and everything if you'd like to do that. But it's an NT USB, it's a USB mic, it's good. Comes with a little pop filter, you can modify your gain and everything, and it suits my voice. I mean, I have a fairly bassy voice, so this sort of suits that kind of nicely. It's not too expensive, it's about $200, so it's certainly not ultra expensive or anything. But I will leave some links for different microphones that are a bit cheaper. You've got the Blue Snowball. I wouldn't recommend the Blue Yeti. I used the Yeti. I didn't like it, but the Snowball's pretty bloody good. And other than that, you've got things like the Rode Procaster and your NT-Go3s, but they're sort of radio mics and things. So NT USB is what I use. You get a stand, you get a pop filter. It's only $200, and it can be used with pretty much anything. You don't need a separate audio interface or anything, so I'll give it a big fat recommend. I've been using it for about 2.5 years now, and it's given me absolutely no issues whatsoever. So it's a good mic. Otherwise, Snowball's probably the recommendation for a cheap one. So depending on what you want to do, how much money you have, you can choose any of those. But I mean, there's guides and stuff for mics, so do your research and you'll get something that you need. Now, let's go into a game and see exactly how it is I record. So this is the family that we use for Ambitions, just the first thing that I loaded up in The Sims 3 because it boots quickly. So I'm going to show you how it is exactly that I'll record and set up. Now, one issue that I see with people, or that I see people having, is syncing their audio to their video. It is kind of annoying. So the easiest way, it's very simple once you get around it. Essentially what you'll do is you can see, well actually you probably won't be able to see, my Fraps counter, it's up here in the corner. You guys can't see it on OBS, but it is there. So I'll hit Command-Shift-R and I'll be recording. My audio will also be recording, so make sure they're recording at the same time. And then what you'll want to do is you'll want to go into something like your options menu. I like to use that. And then what I'll do, I mean, it doesn't have to be your options menu. It should just be something with a very short, sharp sound that you can sync to. And then you will say something along the lines of click. I'll just say click. So what you'll end up with is click, 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 click. And what you can do then is when you have your waveforms and your audio software or your editing software, you'll be able to see the short, sharp points of you saying click and the actual click in the game. And then you just sync them up perfectly, and then you've got completely synced audio throughout the entire video. It's pretty simple that way. And that's all you really have to do. That's basically how you sync your audio, and that's what I'll do. I'll then get ready for the recording, and then you'll just do your intro. Whatever your intro is, mine is, hey guys, Braden here, and welcome back to The Sims 3 Ambitions, so on and so forth. Then you start recording the video, then you wrap it up at the end. With intros and outros, do your own thing. That's entirely up to you. That's a creative thing. That's nothing I can advise people on. Just do your own thing. Don't try to copy other people. That's something that I realized when I was early in making videos, that I was trying to basically copy other people. And that's no fun. Just do your own thing. That's why people will love what you do, because you're your own person and they like... I mean, people watch videos because of the personality, not really because of the content. At least anyone whose opinion is worth valuing. So that's basically what you do there. So you go through, you record your video. Once you've had enough, wrap it up, and then we will get into the editing software to see how that goes. Right, now we get into the fun stuff, the editing suite. This is what I love. I'm a bit of an editor at heart. I love doing this sort of shit. So I use Adobe Premiere Pro for editing. Now, you don't have to use Adobe Premiere Pro. I mean, this creative suite is bloody expensive. If you are a student, which I'm sure a lot of you are, you can usually get a discount on it. You'll just need your, like, student number and, like, your student email or whatever that they give you. I don't know half the shit I did it a year ago. But basically, you can get it for about $200 a year, I think, and that gives you the full CC Suite. That's essentially what I have. So you can basically get all the different apps. So After Effects, Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, so on and so forth. And you can use all of that as you wish for about $200 a year. So it's pretty good. Otherwise, I mean, you can use Movie Maker if you want. You can use iMovie if you're on Mac. And there's a million other different recording softwares and editing softwares and things that you can use. So find one that you can use, that you have access to. If you're lucky, you'll have access to Premiere. If not, you can just use whatever you have. But the basic principles are pretty much the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new project. I'm going to name it Test Edit. There we go. I'm going to save it to my Premiere Files location. So basically all my projects are saved in the one location in there, which is kind of nice. And then I will go, okay. Oh yeah, I mean, I could go through all this stuff, but really you want time code, you want your display in milliseconds, and you want to capture it in HDV. And that's pretty much all you want. So then you can click OK, and then you get into the editing suite. And Premiere is kind of hard to wrap your head around, but once you start using it, there's no going back from it. It's bloody amazing. So how the hell do we get our footage into an edit suite? So I'm going to go to Import, and I'm going to go to wherever my raw footage is. I'll go to, I could use the Sims 3. I think that was the last one I recorded. Since we're in Sims 3 before, we'll use that one. So we'll grab our footage, and then we will drag it into our timeline down here. That'll make a sequence for us, and then that'll be dropped there for us to use. These are a little bit small, these tracks for me, so I like to click Alt, go over here, and then scroll up to increase them in size so I can get a bit better look at them. I then need my audio for my actual voice. The audio from your game will automatically be in that file, so once you drop it, you'll have your audio track for your game sound. And now we need our voice, so I'm going to go into here, I'm going to go audio, and then I believe that video should be Ambitions Episode 2. Probably. So then we'll drop that into there. Hopefully I haven't made a fool of myself in this audio track, though I probably have. So now I'm going to scroll in and I'm going to find where all the clickety clicks are so that I can sync them all together. So you can see the spikes on the game track and on this track. So I'm going to try and sync all of these ones up like so. Back a little bit. Sort of like that. They look all synced. Yep. And then once you play it, you'll be able to see.
Click, 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 click.
There you go. And now it's all synced. So the entire track after that will be synced so that everything's happening. Open. It shouldn't be out of date, but I guess it is. Yeah. Anyway. Yep. So everything's in sync like that, which is pretty cool. So then what I'll do is I will find the start of the video, which should be about there.
Hey guys, Braden here and all.
It is. So then I will go just before. I like to leave a little bit of space at the start so it's not like the video starts and I'm screaming in your face. So I'm going to hit C, which is the cut tool. I'm going to cut that there. I'm then going to click on these tracks. I'm going to get rid of them, all those clips I should say. I'm going to drag them up to the start. And then basically at the start of the video,
hey guys, Braden here and welcome back to the Sims 3 Ambitions.
Like that, which is pretty cool. Now also, I have intros and outros. I'm not going to go through the making of the intros and outros. That's After Effects and that's a shitload to wrap your head around. But if you get the CC Suite, definitely explore After Effects because it's good fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my exported videos, my editing tools, and go into 2017 where I have my intro and outro saved in a file. And I'm going to drag my intro over here like that. I'm going to go up to the start of everything. And what I like to do as well, generally when you start speaking, you have an involuntary breath. So you'll go, hey guys, Braden here. Like that, and I kind of want to cut that breath out. So I'm going to go into my audio transitions, into crossfades, and I'm going to do an exponential fade. And then I'm going to drag that so it's not actually fading out any of my voice, just a little bit before it. I'm also going to do that with the game audio, so it's not so harsh. That should be smoother. Hey guys, Braden here, and welcome back to The Sims 3 Ambitions. Like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Now, a couple of little things that you'll notice in here, you'll see these sort of quiet parts. Now, this is a little technique. It's not so much of a technique, it's just common sense, really. But basically, if I talk over myself or I make an unfunny joke that I want to edit out, which happens a shitload, but essentially, to make sure that I notice that in the edit, I go quiet for about 30 seconds after the fact. I'll just pause the game, go quiet for 20, 30 seconds, and then what you end up with is this patch of silence. And I know, okay, there's something here that I needed to edit out. So I'll go back, I'll listen to it, there'll be something unfunny that I want to get rid of, or maybe I've just talked over myself, repeated something, or there's something, well, like there's nothing happening in the game that I just want to edit out. Because if you're not quiet in that bit, then there's no way for you to know where it is in the video, so you're going to have to go sifting through 35 minutes of video to find it. So then now that I know that's there, I can basically grab my cut tool, I can cut like that, and then I'll grab them, drag them together, and then I'll grab my video transitions, go to a dissolve, and then I'll add a cross dissolve, and that'll sort of fade over itself like that. And everything's sweet. So that's how I do that. That's a little tippy, tricky thing there, just to make sure that you edit everything out that you want to, because more than once I have missed a couple of things when I haven't been quiet for long enough or something, so I don't notice it in the edit, and then I leave something horribly cringy and unfunny in the video, and it's like, oh no, I wish I had have edited that out, but it's uploaded now and you can't take it back. So that's a good way to get around that. It's also, if there's nothing happening in the video, for instance, if it's nighttime or whatever and I want to skip through it because there's nothing going on, just be quiet over that time, and then you can easily edit it out once you notice it. So that's basically the edit. At the end, I'll drag it up to the end like that. I'm going to add an exponential fade. Actually, what I'll do first is I'll drop my outro. Whoopsie daisies. I want to drop my outro there, then move that track up there. And then what I like to do is find out where my outro comes up to. So the way I have it measured is I like to have the video end in line with where this music starts, about here, like that. So I like to line them up like so. So I'll drag, I'll drag, I'll drag, and I'll drag, and then I'll hopefully line these two up. Close enough. And then I'll have, because the music starts to come in from here, I like to fade out the game audio so it's not a shitload of just a cacophony going over the top of each other. So as the music comes on and I wrap everything up, this game audio goes away. As well, maybe give himself some more tattoos. That's all in store for next time, so thank you very much for like that. And then also one thing it's a bit of a mistake, I need to re-render it, but this outro is in 720p, which means I have to make sure that I scale it up to 1080, which is something I need to fix. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. That's not properly scaled. There's a black edge around it. There we go. And then that will sort of come over the top, close it out, and then everything's sweet. So that's the edit. That's how I edit my videos. I'd also go through and edit all that crap out, and that bit there, and like that bit there, and that bit there, and then merge them all together, and then you'd end up with a nice little complete video. So the next step, once the... Oh, actually, no. I need to render it out, don't I? Right, so we want to go to export, we want to go to media, and it's probably best to look up for yourself what the best settings are to render in. Now, you don't have to render in super high quality. I tend to, but I mean, it's not ultra high quality. It's just sort of good enough because YouTube scales everything down and compresses everything, so it's going to look like crap anyway. So there's not really much of a point kind of bothering with doing super high quality things. So I have my preset here. It's 1080p YouTube. It's 1920 by 1080, 30 FPS. I do a VBR 2 parts render at about 12 megabits per second. I make sure I click use maximum render settings, and then I'll just export that out to wherever I want. So that'll be my rendered video folder. And then basically once that's done, I'll have a complete video ready for upload, which needs a thumbnail. So let's get to that. Alright, this is Photoshop. This is another Adobe program. It's pretty bloody good. I like Photoshop a lot. It's pretty simple to wrap your head around. I mean, like anything, it takes some learning, but once you get your head wrapped around it, it's pretty simple. That being said, there's a lot to learn, a lot of advanced things as well. So it's a good all-around tool. So when I make thumbnails, I make sure that I always have a base template for every series that I do. So each series will have its own style of thumbnail. So basically, I can come back throughout the series every time I need a new thumbnail. I'll just alter that template. So I've just started Ambitions, which means I can click on this Ambitions template, and this is an actual project. It's an actual Photoshop project rather than just a photo. So what that means is rather than it just being a photo that's all on its lonesome, I can come in and I can modify all these different assets and things that are throughout it. So the way you do that is instead of exporting, you simply save the file. I save it into a Photoshop files folder so I know where everything is. It's easily accessible. So that means every time I want to make a new thumbnail, I can come in, I can change this to like episode 2 instead of episode 1. And then, whoopsie daisies, where are you, episode 2? You're there. So I can put that back in the middle. So everything's different for each thumbnail. So if I want to like get rid of you and get rid of you, I can come in here and say, for instance, this is basically how I get these guys, where have you gone? These guys over the top of a different background without them actually being in the original picture. So what I'll do is I'll actually do green screen. I'll build a green screen around people, around the Sims, and then I'll take a screenshot of them. And then I'll come through and I will modify that and key it all out. So the way I'll do that, where's a nice close-up? I'll just use that close-up for shits and gigs. So basically I'll click over here, I'll make sure it's a layer from the background. And then you go over here to your magic wand tool, and then you just click on the green. And that'll basically key everything out around him. You click in there, that deletes all that. Click there. The reason we use green is because green is the only color that isn't naturally occurring in humans. Or something along those. I know people have green eyes, but it's like the least common color in humans or something, so it's less likely to clash with a human and ruin the keying process. Now, you can see that that's all been keyed out. There's no green around him. The only issue we have with Sean is that he has very luscious locks, so keying's kind of a pain in the ass around his hair. So I'll just come through and I'll grab the eraser tool, and then I'll just sort of try and smooth that out. I like to make sure that the hardness isn't 100%, so then it sort of feathers the edge a little bit. So we can sort of come through and it's a little bit softer. Not like that. Let's use a smaller tool. Come back, Sean. There we go. And then I'll just sort of feather that out. Try to make it look not too bad. I mean, one thing you've got to remember as well is that the thumbnails are small, so realistically, people aren't going to see the little tiny fine details. Oh, I said tiny, strange, leave me alone. So we just sort of key that out like that. Erase the bits that we don't want, the green bits, and then the audience will never know. This is sort of ruining my own way of doing things because now you know all my dirty little secrets and my little cheats and things. But basically, once you get that, you would never know that it didn't key out properly. Then you simply drop it onto here, and then you got your thumbnail like that. And then you can add whatever you want. You can grab like another background. So if I wanted to put him in Twinbrook, for instance, I'd make sure it's a layer from the background. I'd go into filters. I would go to blur. I go to a Gaussian blur. Blur that out a little bit. And then I'd drop that over the back. Go down here, my layers. And then put it behind like so. Then you've got a different thumbnail. That's basically how I make my thumbnails. I also like to go into my blending options and put a stroke around him as well. So you've got that little white halo effect around him, which looks kind of cool as well. So yeah, that's how I make my thumbnails. And I guess that's pretty much all there is to making videos, to be honest. Of course, you can go here to... That's my OBS settings, because I didn't know how to use OBS before. But if I go into, oopsie daisies, my YouTube, and I go into upload, and I go here, you just click on wherever you've saved your video. So if I wanted to upload the newest episode of Banished, I would click here, and then you just do your description, your title, add whatever playlist you want. So I'd put it in my Banished Colonial Charter thing, and everything would be pretty sweet. So that's basically all there is to making videos. It's not that difficult. It's a little bit to wrap your head around. Hopefully I've explained some of this decently well. If not, I apologize. It's a 35-minute, 30-minute sort of video, so a little bit longer than I thought, but hopefully I've got enough information across. If you've got any other questions, put them in the comments. I'd be happy to help to the best of my abilities. Otherwise, I can find out and help you out if you need to. But thank you very much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. And until then, as always, stay awesome.